Don Sweeney did so much for Brad Marchand by not being smart about that contract.
100%.
I want to talk a little Brad Marchand. Should the Bruins have just signed him? He was willing to give them a compromise, famously, in the week before he was dealt.
My answer has always been yes. From the say, even when they were like, we won't come down on what Brad Marchand is asking. I was just give Brad Marchand what he's asking for. And I know that might be bad business, but who else are the Bruins paying?
Right.
That was always my thing.
The only thing I will say is that, I feel like this is a prime opportunity for a little revisionist history. He was not as dominant as he is right now.
He was injured.
Yeah, so I understand there being a hesitation to pay him as much as he was requesting at the time, but holy fuck, does it look bad now?
It's not revisionist history when I said it at the time.
Well, no, I'm not saying you.
My reaction was fucking giving him the money.
I know, yeah, I agree with you. I was just saying, from the Bruins' perspective, it was. I don't think it was. We don't want Brad Marchand to be a Boston Bruin. It was we don't want Brad Marchand in his current state to be getting paid as much as he is requesting, which is slightly more understandable, but like I said, looks way worse now.
But
okay.
Bruins, Red Sox handshake, the decisions on who to pay and who to give their money to, very questionable and weird at points. How many times have we seen the Red Sox trade away somebody like Mookie Betts? Let's just throw that name out there because they don't want to pay that guy.
Just so they can turn around and
just
pay
so they can turn
Rafael
around
Devers
and
then
kind
trade
of
him.
Counteract the negative reaction by handing a shitload of money to somebody else just for kind of fan service. Who are the Bruins going to give?
David Price over John Lester. Didn't sign John Lester when he was like, I'd like to be here.
But David Price was a very good player as well.
The difference is that
they
gave the money to somebody.
The reason they didn't sign John Lester was because they had made a rule about signing pitchers over 30. And then when it worked out so poorly that they did not sign John Lester, they said, all right, we're changing the rule. We're going to go sign David Price now. And it's you could have just had John Lester for a lot cheaper, and he's probably given you that playoff performance that David Price.
I was going to say the only thing is that if you pay Casey Middlestat fucking Brad Marchand money and then he wins a Conn Smythe, then it's hard to say you should have paid Brad Marchand.
Okay, I said that I wanted to discuss a hero. Don Sweeney should be Brad Marchand's hero. Don Sweeney saved Brad Marchand from himself. Brad Marchand was considering the fact that he would be traded, but he was going to do what he could to stay a Boston Bruin. And in February, AFP Analytics projected Brad Marchand's contract at 3 years times $7.79 million. The Bruins would not give him that. The Bruins wanted to give him something. They would give him 3 years, but they wanted to give him something closer to what he was making at the time, which is $6.125 million. Famously, Elliot Friedman reported that in the week before he was traded, Brad Marchand called a meeting with the Bruins and said, I'm ready to compromise. I'm going to lower my ask on the AAV if you'll raise what you're willing to give me, and we will meet in the middle. Brad Marchand said, I will compromise. The Bruins said, we will not. They would not give him that compromise, which let's say would have been 3 years times $7 million. And Pete was yelling about it. I was yelling about it. Just give it. This is not going to be a bad contract. Even if in the third year he's not quite as good, it's going to be $7 million, cap going up, all these things. Brad Marchand would compromise. The Boston Bruins would not. So they trade him to the team of his preference. And now Brad Marchand, after being willing to take less money, after being hurt, after being on a team that was going nowhere, is now rejuvenated, playing the best hockey he has played in years, which factually would not happen in Boston because the Bruins were not going to make the playoffs. He is in line now for a 4-year contract at something like $8 million per. He has made, let's say, $10 million easily thanks to this move. And let's not forget, he's going to be an Olympian next year. And that was, to put it lightly, no guarantee.
Yeah.
Don Sweeney did so much for Brad Marchand by not being smart about that contract.
100%. 100%. Huge favor. It all works out in Brad Marchand's favor. I mean, you didn't even mention one win away. Like, he's one win away from hoisting a Stanley Cup and perhaps being the Conn Smythe. Like, not only is he making $10 million easy, more than he would have, he's also, people are now locked in on him being a first ballot Hall of Famer, or at least a Hall of Famer. And this has been a huge, huge legacy series for Brad Marchand. So, yeah, that man should send Don Sweeney an edible arrangement, and I'm going to steal it off of Don Sweeney's doorstep.
We all silly like the mayor.